Hello and thank you for joining us on the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, Senate proposes 10-year jail term for importers, sellers of generators. Federal government meets with ASUU over strike regarding IPPIS as striking lecturers remain adamant. And later on the show, FAAN declares Kaduna Airport road unsafe. One staff residents against activities of gunmen as Police IRT Team arrests 105 kidnappers, armed robbers. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, and Zainab Ocheni is making a debut. Zainab, nice to have you here.
You're welcome.
We welcome Zainab here.
You know, we promise that we'll bring as many women as possible.
Yeah.
Because we are in the spirit of the Beijing conference of 1995.
30%.
Yes.
If it's more than 30%.
Affirmative action.
Yes.
We are even going to 80%.
80%. Overkill.
Yes.
Zainab, welcome.
Thank you.
So we are ready. Let the hangout start now. In a desperate times like we are witnessing in Nigeria, desperate ideas and measures cannot be in short supply. The Nigerian Senate is proposing a law that will prescribe 10-year jail term for anyone who imports or sells generating sets in the country. The sponsor of the bill, titled Generating Sets Prohibition Ban Bill 2020, Senator Mohammed Bima from Niger State, said the proposed legislation titled Generating Set Prohibition Bill 2020 said it is aimed at curbing the menace of environmental pollution. Babajide, it's always when we see different bills coming from the Senate these days, and it's always a subject of debates among Nigerians. But the bottom line is this: a lot of people have suggested it a long time ago that if the importers of generators, the cartel can be dealt with, that somehow it has to do with our problem in the power sector. Even when you look at the budget every year, the ASUU Rock Villa, they buy diesel, they put service gen, the National Assembly that they want to make this law, I'm sure it's been powered most of the time on the power generating sets.
Well, first, I think it is elevated ignorance for people to imagine that if we descend on electricity,
generator sellers,
importers of generators, that will solve our power problem.
I'm telling you, it has. That suggestion has been mooted for
it's
several
a very
years.
ridiculous suggestion, rooted in ignorance, because it is not the fault of the generator sellers that we are unable to generate enough to make our people happy. It is not their fault that our transmission lines are old and weak. It is not their fault that the distribution companies cannot distribute all of what is generated and fed to them. So anyone familiar with the problems in that sector would not think that, oh, it is that the fact that we do not have consistent electricity is caused by sabotage by those who want to sell their generators. It makes no sense to think in this manner. We have all kinds of problems. For example, now, the Transmission Company of Nigeria told us that the outage that we are suffering now will last for 10 days because of gas constraints.
It's very bad.
Now, we have 24 power plants. 21 of them are gas-fired. So anytime there is insufficient gas, we'll be in trouble.
Over 80%.
Egbin Thermal Station here in Lagos is the largest in West Africa. It's a gas-fired power plant. So if for any reason you are unable to get gas supply to Egbin, we are already in trouble, because it has the capacity to generate about 2,200 megawatts. So when you shut down, when you shut down, after they expanded it. They now created Egbin 1, Egbin 2 during the Jonathan regime. So when you are unable to get access to gas and you are a power plant in Nigeria, we are in trouble. The other three are hydro plants, Jeba, Kainji, and Shiroro. And those ones do not even generate enough because they are old. They are old, really old. So this is the situation. It is not that it pleases Nigerians to buy generators. Some of us spend far more than we should be spending on generating power. I was talking about the big companies in Lagos spending 20.8 billion to generate power for themselves. Today, flour mills do not rely on public electricity, so they've been generating their electricity by themselves. Coca-Cola too, their electricity is self-generated. Wemco, the milk company, their electricity is self-generated because it's unreliable. So do you then, what do you then do to those ones? Because they are not even the exemptions that this ridiculous bill created. They are not even listed amongst them. No one would see electricity, public electricity, and not want to take advantage of it. And we say, oh, it's generator that I want to use. Who does that? And during their sessions too, I'm sure many of their sessions are conducted while they are enjoying generators. I mean, the power supply by generators. So why don't they start with themselves?
Zainab, the number of generators that we import and people buy every year, you can just imagine. But this person is talking about the environmental hazard and what it portends.
First of all, we have a lot more things in Nigeria that causes environmental pollution. So that is some sort of a shabby excuse. Like he said, nobody would want to use a generator if we had electricity, if there was electricity. And even as we're using electricity, in 2014, the World Bank said 27% of Nigerians, they took out a survey, and they said 27% of Nigerians said the biggest hindrance of their businesses is the power problem. And IMF said that annually Nigeria loses $29 billion because of the electricity problem. So
$29 billion.
yes, and this bill exempts airports, hospitals. Basically, it exempts those people who, or those players who are in a position to be able to push for something for us to have electricity. It only punishes those people who are not in the, who don't have the power to do anything about it. So I don't understand. I've been trying to understand the rationale behind it. It's like you said.
Well, Babajide, now when you look at the extent, okay, in the last 48 hours or 72 hours, I've been running, you know, there's no power supply and been running on gen and everybody like that. And sometimes, you know, in the middle of the night, people even run it overnight because the weather is hot.
Yes.
You know, it's hot. Some people can't even afford to switch it off because the weather is very, very off. When you look at the noise, when you look at the environmental pollution, it's like we're so used to this anomaly that's come to stay. Noise everywhere, go to most areas around the country. For everybody,
people don't have a choice. If you live in my state capital, for example, Lokoja at this time, and you say you don't want to use a generator, the heat is like a furnace.
Yes.
In Lokoja now, it's like a furnace. So many people go and have their bath like 4 or 5 times a day just to get around the problem. So it's not that it pleases Nigerians to switch on the generator and be making noise. I mean, it's not that it pleases people. It's because they are left with no choice. So some people can hardly sleep in darkness. So what do they then do? Our rich people who become so comfortable that they now imagine that the best thing to do is to churn out laws that make the poor people to suffer. How many of them can afford to sleep in darkness? The same senator who has come up with this funny bill, if we investigate him, and of course we will investigate him, we are going to discover that he has giant, maybe mechanical generator in his house. We are going to discover. So this is the thing. I want to believe that his own colleagues will not let this bill see the light of day. It's just, for me, this is just a cheap shot at publicity. Now, in the 2019 budget, there were 1,358 items related to generating sets in that budget. Even ASUU Rock. They can't afford not to use the generator. I've been in ASUU Rock before, suddenly they took lights. And we were all laughing. Yes, in the seat of power. And we were all laughing that even these people are not insulated against...
You can't even use this UPS that immediately light goes off. Does it?
And
Nigeria is the second worst country in the world when it comes to energy supply. We are the second worst. So, and look at
Is that bad?
It is that bad. Look at our population. Many of our communities are not even on the national grid. Up to half of the Nigerian communities are not connected to national grid. I went to Mambila, where we have what potentially is the biggest hydro plant in our country. They are not connected to national grid. Everybody is using generator. And a lot of the people there are poor, so you just, in the night when you come out, you only see signs of light in places where people have generator. And we are coming out with this kind of bill. When only about 40% of our people actually have access to electricity. And even the generous survey that they conducted shows that only people have access to electricity 9.2 hours a day in our country. Where people take for granted that electricity is
in other West African countries.
Yes, they don't even suffer power outage in some countries. They take electricity for granted.
No, I think this bill is targeted at suffering the poor people, because there are other ways of generating electricity which rich people use, solar panels and all that. So that's not in the bill. So when you ban generators, they can also have electricity, because the bill says they not only want to ban the importation of generators, but the usage of generators, meaning even those people that already have, cannot use. So, but that doesn't mean that the rich people or the people in government will not have electricity. They will have. There are ways, but it costs a lot more than the average Nigerian can afford. So this is just, to me, it's targeted.
Inverters are very expensive.
So to me, it's targeted at the people who the lowest of Nigerians, which is.
Okay, I have my first caller. Olawale is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Wale.
Hello, good evening, Ayo.
Good evening,
Wale.
Yeah, my encyclopedia.
I greet you, sir.
Wale.
And the young lady is well with you. I just want to find out certain information from you. The senator that is sponsoring this bill, is he a Nigerian? And
he's from Niger State.
Is he living in Nigeria? Because less than 30% of Nigerians have access to electricity. All of us are using generator, which is not convenient. Even in this 2020 budget, we have over 200 million budgeted for generator and diesel in the ASUU Rock.
Yes.
So if such a thing can happen at the seat of power and they are not enjoying uninterrupted power supply, what about some of us that are not so privileged? If we buy what do they call it? Pass my neighbor. Just to pull up the heat wave. Some of us, as Gideon said, we bath more than 3 times before they break.
It is too much. Thank you.
Well, actually, if you go to some parts in Lagos, they actually they sleep outside now.
Yes.
Yes.
They sleep outside.
No, it's
they
worse
sleep
in
outside.
northern Nigeria. And Niger State, where it comes from, though they have the Kainji Dam, is one of the worst hit states when it comes to power outage. They hardly enjoy electricity in Niger State. People have called me to say, please talk about it. How can we have
Kainji Dam, Shiroro Dam,
the Shiroro Dam, and the Jeba Dam, and we won't have lights. So for someone to come from that state and be making this kind of move is ridiculous.
Now let's take this break for a short tribute to the doyen of broadcast engineering in Nigeria, the late Lucky Omoluwa, who was championing the country's transition from analog to digital broadcasting before his death. Spoke about him immediately after his demise, and was given a befitting burial in Abuja. Saw it, and Nigerians turned up for him.
Yes, I think that's the best that they could have done for a great man of unparalleled generosity, who stepped up to help his country when his country needed him the most. So I believe that those that he has left behind will continue the good work that he has done.
Because I wanted to talk about that project, the project he was championing, and was so passionate about it, and everything he has put into that pinnacle thing.
Yes, he spent so much money. They gave him a target. They thought he would not be able to meet that target, and he made the target. He completed the job in record time. And the day before his death, because he's a golf lover, he played on 18 holes, and that must have taken you like 5 hours to get to 18 holes on the golf course.
5 hours?
Yes. You could start playing from 12 noon, and maybe you end it around 6 p.m. to get to 18 holes. Some of the golf courses are like 21 holes. So his death was really shocking. And the tributes that people have been paying to him shows that Nigeria lost a great man. A detribalized Nigerian, who was very well exposed, worked abroad many years. So we pray that God will grant him eternal rest in his bosom, and that the digitalization efforts would not stop. Rather, it will, at this time, even be ramped up by the Minister of Information and other stakeholders in the sector.
Okay, let's take this tribute proper now.
When the eyes are shut, never to be opened again. When the gates are opened for the final journey and the last chapter of an era comes to an end, nothing, absolutely nothing matters except the imprint of our days. When that definite tomorrow comes, then today would have gone forever. But what we have done remains to either speak for us or speak against us.
If there's heaven, I believe that Saliu Omo is sitting with the Lord.
He lived a modest and an exemplary life.
The man was exceptional.
The days among us is gone.
Where there was darkness, his humor brought light.
He touched a lot of lives.
Nothing touches me that Lucky is not involved in.
He's an embodiment of the finest virtues.
Born on the 6th of March 1954 and committed to Mother Earth, same date in 2020, Saliu Omo lived a life many have described as exceptional.
Well, I've conducted business on every continent on this planet, and never have I worked with somebody with such honesty and integrity and professionalism as Saliu.
His generosity does not know any bounds of religion, tribe, or wherever it is you're coming from. He extends his help to anybody that he sees there is a need.
He was an amiable and a charming personality, someone who loves all and was helpful to so many people.
A great guy, he detribalized Nigeria, a man who believed in being faithful to his friends, his family, and everyone that come across him.
He was the largest supporter of God in Nigeria.
Lucky had a gift that is only God sent.
Sir Lucky Joseph Omolua, he is perhaps, as far as I know, the highest single donor to the work that we are doing here.
Sir Lucky Omolua was an illustrious entrepreneur and founder of Pinnacle Communications Limited, an Nigerian broadcast engineering company with tremendous impact in the broadcast industry. The company is also the only licensed private digital switchover operator in Nigeria.
The signal distributor for the Abuja switchover, Pinnacle Communications, is a wholly owned Nigerian company which has invested considerably in transmission services.
That we're here today is largely due to the dynamism of one uncommon patriot, the chairman of Pinnacle Communication. This is a man who has invested in this DSO. And I can tell you, yes, he's a businessman, but his motive is not just to make a profit.
If Lucky Omolua is doing anything, I have to be there, no matter what it takes. Because he's one of the people of Kaduna that we are very proud of for his achievements. And for me personally, he has got me out of trouble more than once.
Barely 1 month to the exit of its chairman, the company had told a group of journalists it had placed an order for more equipment to complete the digital transition process, despite the needless challenges being encountered back home.
I believe that he has laid a very good foundation for all of us. We have a great team, and we have a very supportive family and the estate. I think we will only get better going forward.
Described as extremely generous, humble, and one of the finest bridge builders in Nigeria, Sir Lucky Babatunde Omolua was fluent in over 18 international languages, won numerous awards across 5 continents for his outstanding performances, including a special recognition by the US Congress. Tributes poured in uncontrollably. The last on the printed imprint reads, "Nigeria has lost a leader in every sense of the word, an asset. The world has lost a symbol of hope for so many, an icon of integrity, a hero, and a true lover of mankind. Farewell, Sir Lucky Omolua, a knight with a golden heart."
Thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout. We're reaching you live from Television Continental here. Nigeria is at the threshold of another familiar yet unpalatable strike and endless meetings between university lecturers and governments. A disagreement over the vexed issue of the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System, IPPIS, has forced members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, to embark on a 2-week warning strike. But the federal government has summoned the leadership of ASUU and other stakeholders to a crucial meeting to resolve the logjam, but it ended in a familiar tone. No resolution yet. Zainab, when you want to look at ASUU almost on a yearly basis since 2009, that they had that famous agreement with federal governments. Before you say Jack Robinson, before you say anything, bam, we're going on strike. That's the biggest tool, and they've always been wielding this big stick. This one is just a 2 weeks test strike.
The relationship between ASUU and federal government has been a very frosty one. And Nigeria is one of the worst countries in Africa where teachers are, as regards respect to teachers or appreciation of teachers. The federal government, not just this present administration, for many, many years, teachers have been underpaid, in my opinion, and it hasn't changed. Although the federal government, obviously, like I said, but ASUU has been, every little thing. What I think is the organization ASUU gets a kick out of strike. They feel like, when we go on strike, we are listened to. And it's unfortunate because these are intellectuals. These are not common men. These are people that should put the interest of students before anybody else. The federal government can be excused, but as intellectuals, as professors, as people who know or who should know the value of education, going on strike every little thing is not it's unfortunate. Yeah. And I feel like they look, the thing is, if you look at countries where teachers are respected the most, it's obvious that it translates to their development. You cannot have a country where, a developed country where, and teachers are not taken care of, made happy. And to be able to teach properly, to be able to impart knowledge properly, you should be, well taken care of. And so I think, yeah, the federal government has a long way to go when it comes to...
Babajide, this is not a regular one. Now, when somebody is saying that, so, because you've joined me into those that refuse to join this IPPIS, that they will not pay them salary, and the federal government has directed most of, their parastatals and boards and everything to come under this integrated payment system. And ASUU is insisting that, look, we have no business with this, please just bypass us. And the federal government is saying, you have to be part of this. And ASUU is now, going down the wire for a strike. Do you think this makes sense at all?
What I think will make sense is for both parties to come together. Because from the look of things, this is a one-day strike. I don't think we should wait until we have a full-blown strike on our hands. What ASUU is saying is that the IPPIS is not flexible, and that month on month, you find that your salary will be different from what you got the previous month. And because it's centrally done, you have to go to Abuja before changes can be effected. If you have anything to complain about, you must go to Abuja. So they've had people complain about the IPPIS thing, and they don't want to be made to subscribe to it. That's why they have come up with the idea of the strike. And they told the government, look, because of the peculiar nature of the ivory tower, whereby you have people go on sabbatical, or exchange programs and all that sort, which will require sometimes that you, a lecturer on the books of the Obafemi Awolowo University, you can go and lecture at Onabajo University in Ogun State. But the way the federal government sees this is that you are going to be earning double salary. If you work maybe during the weekend,
part-time there,
you do a kind of, what's it called? There's a name that they call it, I can't remember
visiting.
Now. Yes, like a visiting lecturer in
another
OU. They will now say, oh, it's double salary that you are earning, because it's difficult to sustain that under the IPPIS system. And then there are lecturers who come from the US and other research fellows who will come to another country. They are saying that if we stick to this IPPIS, it will be difficult for them to attract research fellows from the great universities of the world to come to Nigeria. And of course, you remember when we were in school that some of those people used to come down, work for some time and then go back to their country. Some Nigerian academics to also go abroad to do similar things. So they then proposed, they call it transparency, university transparency and accountability solution. that is their own suggestion, you know, that the government should adopt that instead of forcing them to enroll with the IPPIS. But the surprising thing to me is that the University of Ilorin, that for 20 years refused to get involved in any strike, they are on strike this time. You know, they are on strike, which means that ASUU is still united. ASUU, for you know, something has changed.
At last.
something really has changed, because many people prefer to go to University of Ilorin because they feel that there will never be a disruption to the calendar.
That's why people are moving to private universities. Because when you wake up in the morning and you say there's morning strike, the next 2 weeks, they're asking people to quit.
And it could be up to 6 months, 7 months. You know, we've had strikes that lasted about 6 months. So the academic life of the students is disrupted. Your own mates who went to public universities, you see that they will graduate before you. And it's really, somebody was telling me a story that he applied for a job, and that job, the stipulation is that you must not be more than 27 years of age.
So, most entry-level jobs.
Yes, you must not be more than 27. He said that because of strikes, at least 3 strikes in the course of his
first degree.
First degree, he was unable to graduate at the age of 25. You know, there was one that lasted about 6 months, another one lasted many months.
Early 2000.
So he said it was those strikes that ensured that stipulation, he could not meet it. So there's no way students will be happy with this situation. Like in Ilorin now, they were writing exams when this thing started. So, and once the lecture, nobody who will even supervise the examination when they are on strike? They won't. But you see, I just want the government to come to a kind of agreement with these people, you know, so that the students will not be made to suffer unnecessarily.
It's not clear if they are not going to embark on a full-blown strike, because if with the warning strike, after 2 weeks, you discover that, you know, both parties might not reach agreement and they will have to go for that full-blown strike, and it will, as Jude said, disrupt academic activities. Zainab, what's happening?
You know, the IPPIS issue is just the straw that broke the camel's back. ASUU is saying that the federal government has not held up its end of the bargain. They've made agreements, and they're complaining of unpaid salaries, you know, up till 2018, and that the federal government made the agreement, they shook hands, signed that, but then, you know, left the table and nothing has been fulfilled. So the IPPIS is just one of those issues. So I hope it's not going to be, you know, one of those strikes that go on for a very long time, because yes, students will be...
How come government will make agreements and they don't honor it?
That's what I meant by, you know, respect for teachers. In countries like China and Malaysia, Indonesia, teachers are not taken for granted. They are highly, highly respected. In fact, in Sweden, teachers make more than politicians.
They make more money?
Yes, than politicians.
That's new.
Yes, than members of the House, and, you know, because these are societies that know that their future hinges on education. And to think of one-day break because of, you know, it's unheard of. And so I think that's at the crux of the whole is ASUU basically crying out for some respect. For some, if you don't want to honor an agreement, then don't even make it.
Julie, I've noticed that, look, if the private university, as you are projecting, they will tell you that you're expected to graduate so summer, so year. They would have given you your graduation day, and they will stick to it. And what we've noticed now is that during our time, we didn't have private universities across the country like this. But right now, everywhere, private university, people prefer, because of this factor, to patronize these private universities than government university. And the standards, everything, keep coming down.
And you see, part of why ASUU is fighting is the poor funding of our universities. It's like government has even abdicated its responsibility of funding universities and improving infrastructure in the universities. If not for TED Fund, which itself is a creation of ASUU struggle, TED Fund. Only God knows how our universities will look like today. When I went to Bayero University recently, I was shocked.
Okay.
A lot of things have changed in this university from the time that I was in Kano, that I used to go there to see my friends. A lot of things have changed. New buildings have sprung up, and you will see boldly written on those buildings that it is TED Fund that executed those projects. So what if we didn't have TED Fund? What if we didn't have it? So part of the reason ASUU went to war with the federal government, and then the 2009 agreement was reached, was to try and achieve better funding of the universities, set aside enough money for research, take a holistic look at the infrastructure that's available in the universities, and do something about it. But basically, the problem is funding. How do we then get enough funds for the universities? But admittedly, this regime was not the one that entered into the agreement with ASUU, but government is a continuum. Once you come into government, you inherit liabilities and all. So government met with these guys and told them that, look, we are going to, because you know they went on strike recently, and they said, okay, we are going to pay. This is the schedule of payment that will happen. But as we are seeing, they've reneged on all of those promises. I know that there is a issue, a paucity of funds. There's paucity of funds. But you should be able to explain that this is the problem, the constraints that you have, and this is how you want to solve this problem. They are Nigerians too. But to make promises that probably you have no plan to fulfill is what really riles these our lecturers. And honestly, for the university system to continue to remain centers of excellence, centers of research, it makes no sense to leave them the way they are. Things have to improve.
Okay, I have Tina. Tina is calling us from Ilorin.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, I want to contribute to about this ASUU federal government also.
All right, go ahead, Tina. Yes, go ahead.
Actually, I see that body as a body of corruption, because all the money that federal government has been pumping into the ASUU, have they ever asked them what do they produce? Have we produced researchers that have discovered cure for HIV or even cure for different things that we need research to? But they keep calling for more money, more money. Yes, our country is suffering, and yet the lecturers keep calling for more money. So what is the way forward? I think with the fact that we have private institutions, we even help them. By the time they go on strike, definitely, it's just that government does not like lecturers being on strike for too long. We need to call off this ASUU's bluff for once. They are calling for too much. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Tina calling us from Ilorin. What do you make of Tina's comments?
Well, that's part of the reason why, the federal government wants ASUU wants lecturers to sign up with IPPIS, because, like he said, one lecturer can be a visiting lecturer to so many universities, and that takes away time that they should be researching, and then it also creates more unemployment than we already have, because a job lecturing that can be done by probably 7 lecturers would be done by 1 or 2, because they stretch themselves, and so you cannot have enough time, like she said, to research and come up with innovations and groundbreaking things when you are,
which is needed in the system anyway. All right, moving on now. The festering security situation in Benin Gwari area of Kaduna State is getting to an unbearable level. The Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAAN, has declared that Kaduna International Airport Road unsafe, warning staff and residents of the area to avoid early or late movement along the route due to activities of gunmen. Coming on the heels of this is the red flag is the arrest of 105 suspected criminals like kidnappers, armed robbers, gun runners, and drug dealers by Police IRT Team. The Force Public Relations Officer, Frank Umba, said more than 50 AK-47 rifles and other dangerous weapons were recovered from the gang, believing to have perpetrated various crimes in Kaduna. Babajide, you said this when you traveled to Niger State. Was it Niger State that you went last?
Kaduna.
With Kaduna. And looking at the movement there, we still said it last week. And how will our airport be under siege, especially the states like Kaduna?
You remember we had an edition of the program after I returned from Kaduna, where I had addressed the Niger State Executive who were on a kind of retreat at that time. And what people told me was that the area was very unsafe and that flights do not go out of Kaduna after 9 a.m.
Right, yeah.
Yes, and they do not come into Kaduna after 9 a.m. So all flights coming to Kaduna are usually the first flight, 7 a.m. And that same flight goes back, and that's the end for the day. Staff would rather sleep inside the premises of the airport. Once it's like 4 or 5 o'clock, they can't go home. The reason is obvious.
So that means that area is under siege?
The area the airport is located in Igabi, local government. Most parts of Igabi, local government in Kaduna, are not safe. We have Rigasa. Rigasa is part of Igabi. That is where people go into other people's homes, drag them out, and kidnap them. You go to work, before you are back, your wife and kids have been kidnapped, and then you are made to pay ransom silently. So remember the area where the local government where about 51 persons were killed about 2 weeks ago is in that local government. From that airport, from the back of that airport, the forest stretches right up to Zamfara and even Katsina. So criminals will come in through that area and just lie in wait for people. And from there, that same forest is the forest that leads all the way from Buruku to Brinengwari. And everyone knows, even that road, the Brinengwari road, has been abandoned, except you want to play with your life. You will not go on that road. People would rather go through a long journey rather than use the route that is dangerous. So this is the situation. It merely confirms what I said that day on the program, that FAAN itself has now come out to warn people. What is going on in Kaduna is unbelievable. People, because the Kaduna-Abuja highway is not safe, people are hopping into trains to go to Kaduna, and bandits will wait for them as they come down, and they are boarding buses to their homes. They kidnap them inside their buses. So what do people now do? What is left for people? They run away from the highway for you. They enter the train. You then waited for them as they were entering the buses. You grab them. So what do they really want Nigerians to do? So it's a challenge to the government to beef up security in Kaduna. I've been saying it and I will not stop. That Kaduna is not safe. It's a fact that stares us in the face. So government should help work with the governor of that state to secure Kaduna, because anybody could fall victim. You could be visiting, and then on your way from the airport,
how do you even make of it? What do you make of it that
and
after
it's not far from NDA.
9 a.m. in the morning?
Yes, that's the thing. Check the flight schedule. That's the thing. After 9 a.m., nobody flies into Kaduna anymore. No one. No one. So this is the
Zainab, is this not like a failure on the part of the federal government and both federal and state?
Honestly, I would say it is. I would honestly say it is. Because it's for FAAN to come out and say this, it's unprecedented. And I think the rest of us who don't live in Kaduna are not really getting a full picture of what is going on in Kaduna. I have a few family and friends in Kaduna, and the stories I hear, you know, Nigerians don't know what is going on in Kaduna. There's not even enough awareness, you know. And so I think FAAN is just crying out because it has gotten to a level. And like he said, they are beefing up their tactics, you know, from the highway, and now they're waiting for people coming out of trains. So I think the federal government so far has I wouldn't say they've not, you know, attempted, but I don't think it's enough. I think there should be more focus on Kaduna. There should be a lot more focus on Kaduna, and I think the coverage of what's going on should be more. It should be made a national issue. You see, when things like this happen in other countries, life doesn't go on as usual. People become, you know, you'd see pray for Kaduna and all of that, even though, you know, it's not a massacre. But in Nigeria, it's not that way, and I think it's because of the awareness. A lot of people do not even know what is going on. So I think, yeah, the federal government and state should.
Babajide, when you look at the increasing number of these bandits, I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know. We have bandits in Niger State, we have bandits in Katsina State, bandits in Kaduna State, and neighboring states.
All of those states, as we said before, you know, when a state like Zamfara began to negotiate with bandits, and states around it didn't negotiate. The states that didn't negotiate, the bandits will go into those, because they can no longer operate where they've reached an understanding that they will stop killing people, they will stop kidnapping people. That is what Kaduna is suffering from, because Kaduna shares borders with those states, Katsina, Zamfara, you know, so they can easily move from there into Kaduna. And the truth is, a lot of these guys are not Nigerians. I see Nigerians on Facebook saying, no, these are our people, don't call this one, don't call them names. When you encounter these bandits, you see clearly that they are not Nigerians. The bandits who pose like Fulani headsmen in Adama State and kidnap that police man that we discussed this matter here the other day, they were from Cameroon and Chad. They are not Nigerians. Yet we have Nigerians who even show pity on criminals. When other people talk about this problem, they don't want people to talk about the problem. And if something similar like that happens, maybe in the East or somewhere, you see them, they will latch on it. They will be excited about it.
Okay, Yinka, we have Yinka on the line. Thank you for joining us, Yinka.
Hello, Ayo. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ayo. My regards to Babajide, I'm greeting you.
I greet you, sir.
I actually want to talk about the security issue going on in the country. Honestly, as a Nigerian, when I heard this kind of a thing, I feel baffled a lot. Honestly. But what I would suggest is the number of security personnel we are having in this country is far. I mean, compared to other developing countries. So, honestly, I think the federal government needs to do something about
Thank you, Yinka. Our time is fast spent. We are on the
that area in Kaduna, the area where you have the airport is not developed. The Institute of Forestry is in that area, you know. So you see the forests, the area is surrounded by forest. So that's why criminals can easily come in, operate in that area, enter the forest. And I suspect that it is these bandits all the way from Zamfara, all the way from Jibia in Katsina that are coming down, because the forests link one another. So they can easily come, even get up to Niger and other places. So this is the problem. All the states must come together and have one plan. If you don't want to negotiate with them, you want to crush them, go ahead as a group, all governors in that area, this is what we want to do. But if one negotiates, the other doesn't negotiate, they will stop operating in the states of the one that negotiated. They will now go to the one that refused to negotiate and be killing people there. That's what is happening in Kaduna.
Thank you. Zainab. Zainab Ocheni, thank you for being part of Journalist Hangout today.
Thank you for having me.
It's your first time.
Yes.
We know
I had fun.
To get better next time.
Yes.
And
welcome.
You're welcome to.
Thank you for
and BKO, it's been a lovely time with you. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. What Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozuwakun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.